All right, Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakakwadash. The double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rule well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Ainam. The title of the video is For God, that God being Yahweh. For God giveth not the Spirit by measure unto him. And ultimately, the Most High Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, right, gave the Spirit without measure unto Yahweh Shai. And ultimately we are to trust and wait on him to return. And this is more like a comfort video, to comfort your spirit or whatnot. Trusting the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Yahweh is never gonna, basically let you down, right? Yahweh Bashmi Yahweh won't let you down. We're gonna wait on him and he will protect us. All right, this is Zephaniah 3:8. It says, "Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Yahweh, unto the day that I rise up to pray, for my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy." Right, and ultimately, this is good. We're just gonna wait for Yahweh Shai, and he basically, in today's term, he's a bad motherfucker. Right, he handled business and he got things done. All right, and ultimately, the Most High Yahweh Bashmi shall allow him to, do the things he do. All right. All right. So the point I want to get down here is just talking about Yahweh Shai. I want to get so I'll start at 28. This is John chapter 3, verse 28. It says, "Ye yourselves bear me witness that I said, I am not the anointed, but that I am sent before him. He that hath the bride is the bridegroom. But the friend of the bridegroom, which standeth and heareth him, rejoiceth greatly because of the bridegroom's voice. This my joy therefore is fulfilled." Right. So Yahweh Shai is here. Basically, the bridegroom is Yahweh Shai. The bride will be the elect, right? The Israelites. Right. He said he hear the bridegroom, right? And he's happy. The friend next to him, it says he must increase, but I must decrease. So Yahweh Shai must increase, and John the Baptist must decrease. It says, "He that cometh from above is above all. He that is of the earth is earthly," and speaking of the earth, "He that cometh from heaven is above all." Right, and Yahweh Shai is about to come from heaven, right, to deliver us, save us. It says, "He has come from above and is greater than anyone else." We are of the earth, and we speak of earthly things, but he has come from heaven and is greater than anyone else. And that's a good point, because we're going to see that men down here had the spirit, right, and they were able to perform spiritual power. But when Yahweh Shai comes, is over, right? He's definitely gonna save us, and he's right now at the right hand of the Father, making intercession for us, right? Intercession, basically helping us, right? It says, "And what he have seen and heard, that he testified, and no man receiveth his testimony. He that have received his testimony have set his seal that Yahweh is true. For he whom Yahweh have sent speaketh the words of Yahweh. For Yahweh giveth not the Spirit by measure unto him." And it's just talking about Yahweh Shai. It says, "For he is sent by Yahweh, he speaks Yahweh's words. For Yahweh gives him the Spirit without limit." Right, and we already know some of the works that Yahweh Shai did, and walking the water, feeding the multitude, but it's without limit. His ability is without limit. We've seen prophets also perform certain works, right? But they had a set limit, It says, "The Father loved the Son and had given him all things into his hands, and have given all things into his hands. He that believeth on the Son have everlasting life," right? And that's also calling on the true names, right? The name of the Father is Yahweh, and the name of the Son is Yahweh Shai. If you're not calling the true name, you're not believing on him as the scriptures say it. All right. It says, "He that believeth on the Son have everlasting life, and he that believeth not the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of Yahweh abideth on him." Yeah, and ultimately the wrath of Yahweh will come to those false prophets, the people that's not calling on the true names and teaching others not calling the true names. All right. So I want to read this. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 2, uh, verse 1. It says, My son, if thou come to serve the Lord Yahweh Basmin Shai, prepare thy soul for temptation, set thy heart aright, and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Cleave unto him, and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity, right? So we're going to go through things, of course, right? And this is just to make us better. It says, believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way aright, and trust in him. Ye that fear the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai, wait for his mercy, and go not aside, lest you fall. So even in the hour of temptation, right, the great time of testing, the MOTB, famines, pestilence, and different things happen, the city's trouble, you still trust. It says, ye that fear the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai, believe him, and your reward shall not fail. Ye that fear the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai, hope for good, and for everlasting joy and mercy. Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? For the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai is full of compassion and mercy, long suffering and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins, and saveth in time of affliction. Right? Woe be to fearful hearts and to faint hands and the sinner that goeth two ways. Woe unto him that is faint-hearted, for he believeth not, therefore shall he not be defended. Woe unto you that have lost patience, and what will ye do when the Lord shall visit you? They that fear the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai will not disobey his word, and they that love him will keep his ways. They that fear the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai will seek that which is well pleasing unto him, and they that love him shall be filled with the law. They that fear the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai will prepare their hearts and humble their souls in his sight, saying, we will fall into the hands of the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai, and not into the hands of men. For as his majesty is, so is his mercy. So, we're not going to lean on Esau in these last days, and trust in his, whatever he, basically MOTB, right? He says that's going to save you after he brings the problem, right? We're not going to trust in Esau, Edom, in his ways. We're not going to lean on Esau, Edom, right? The wicked. Because that's who's in power currently, Esau, Edom. All right, so I wanted to read this about Elisha getting that double portion. Right, mind you, we're gonna read some of the acts that Elisha did, but Yahweh Shai has an unlimited portion, right? And that's who's coming to deliver us. Right? All right. So, all right, so I'll get it from get it from 5. Second Kings 2 and 5. It says, and the sons of the prophets that were at Jericho came to Elisha and said unto him, knowest thou that the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai will take away thy master from thy head today? And he answered, yeah, I know it. Hold ye your peace. And Elijah said unto him, tarry, I pray thee here, for the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai have sent me to Jordan. And he said, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. And they two went on. So, basically, Elijah was, doing what he was doing. The Lord sent him somewhere, and he wanted Elisha to, tarry behind. And Elisha was saying, he's not going to do that. It says, and 50 men of the sons of the prophets went and stood to view afar off, and they too stood by Jordan. It says, and Elijah took his mantle and wrapped it together and smote the waters, and they were divided hither and thither, so that they too went on over on dry ground. So Elijah, basically struck the ground with his mantle, and it divided, that he was able to walk on the ground, to pass over. It says, and it came to pass when they were gone over that Elijah said unto Elisha, ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken away from thee. And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon thee. right? And as you can see, Elijah was able to take his mantle and strike the ground, and the waters passed over. And now Elisha is asking for a portion of that spirit, right? It says, and it came to pass when they were gone over that Elijah said unto Elisha, ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken away from thee. And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. And he said, thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so. And it came to pass as they still went on. So it basically said it was a hard thing to ask, but if you see me when I'm taken away, then it'll be so. And if not, then it won't be so. And basically, that was like, hey, if the Lord allows, you'll see it. If not, then you won't, right? It says, and it came to pass as they still went on and talked that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And you notice here that this chariot came and parted them asunder from each other, right? And ultimately, the scriptures say, though hand on hand, the wicked shall not go unpunished. And ultimately, I was just thinking about the fact that whatever situation is happening, only the elect will be beamed up into these chariots, right? Even if you holding hands or you hugging, right? You tie each other together, whatever the case may be, right? The elect will be delivered, and everyone else won't be ultimately. It says, and Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more, and he took hold of his own clothes and rent them into pieces. And he took up also the mantle of Elijah that fell up from him, and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. And he took the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and smote the waters, and said, where is the Lord Yahweh Bashmashai, power of Elijah? And when he also had smitten the waters, they parted hither and thither, and Elisha went over. Elisha, right? So as you can see, Elisha was able to do things that Elijah was able to do, right? And that's that spiritual power, right, from the Lord Yahweh Bashmashai, right? So ultimately, you can read, the Second Kings, these chapters here. It goes into the acts that Elisha did, and he did a lot, and that's why the scriptures say that if the acts that Yahweh Shah could do was written, the book couldn't hold, right? Because he did so much, and it's because the spirit was unlimited for him, and we can see a small portion of the many different things that Elisha did, and so I'm get it from 6. Just want to read some of this. So 2 Kings 6 and 8. It says, then the king of Syria warred against Israel and took counsel with his servants, saying, in such and such a place shall be my camp. And the man of God sent unto the king of Israel, right, which is Elisha, saying, beware that thou pass not such a place, for thither the Syrians are come down. And the king of Israel sent to the place which the man of God told him and warned him of, and saved himself there not once nor twice. Therefore, the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing. And so basically, wherever the king of Syria was, the Israelites went over there, like we see, It says, therefore, the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing. And he called his servants and said unto them, will ye not show me which of us is for the king of Israel? So basically, who's the traitor here? How does Israel know where I'm at? It says, and one of his servants said, none, my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet that is in Israel telleth the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. Right. So Elisha was able to know where this dude was going to be at, right, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmashai, right? Because he had a double portion. It says, and he said, go and spy where he is, that I may send and fetch him. All right. And it was told him, saying, behold, he is in Dothan. Therefore sent he thither horses and chariots and great hosts, and a great host, and there came by night and compassed the city about. And they came by night and compassed the city about. And when the servant of the man of God was risen early and going forth, behold, an host compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, alas, my master, how shall we do? And he answered, fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. And Elisha prayed and said, Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai, I pray he open his eyes that he may see. So, Elisha had a double portion of spirit, and he could see the angels already. He could see the chariots already, right? And the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountains was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha, right? So this is the army of the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai, and Elisha could see it, right? He prayed that the young man's eyes was open, right? It says, and when they came down to him, Elisha prayed, and that's the same for us. We have the chariots all around us, right? And even they're seeing the chariots too, because the Most High Yahweh Bashmi Shah is showing himself again, right? He's showing himself, and pretty soon, as birds flying, shall the return of our Lord be. We're gonna see these chariots all over the place. It says, and when they came down to him, Elisha prayed unto the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shah and said, smite this people, I pray thee, with blindness. And he smote them with blindness according to the word of Elisha. And Elisha said unto them, this is not the way, neither. So this whole host of army, came to try to capture Elisha. Right? Elisha just big chilling. Right? He can see all the chariots in the sky already anyway. So he already knows he can't do nothing if they wanted to unless the Lord allowed it, right? But he just prayed to smite them with blindness. He just told them, this is not the way, neither is this the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom ye seek. But he led them to Samaria. So this is one prophet, right? He had a double portion. So imagine Yahweh Shai when he pull up, right? Even now, right? He's making intercessions for us on the right hand of the Father. It says, but he led them to Samaria. And it came to pass, so he led this whole host army to Samaria. It says, and it came to pass when they were come into Samaria that Elisha said, Lord, Yahweh Bashmi Shai, open the eyes of these men that they may see. And the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai opened their eyes, and they saw, and behold, they were in the midst of Samaria. And the king of Israel said unto Elisha, when he saw them, my father, shall I smite them? Shall I smite them? He answered, thou shalt not smite them. Wouldst thou smite those whom thou hast taken captive with thy sword and with thy bow? Set bread and water before them, that they may eat and drink and go to their masters. So Elisha defeated this whole army through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Shai, just like that. They was already captured. He could have did whatever he wanted to do with them, throw them off a mountain, make them go into the ocean, drown, jump in a volcano, right? But he just gave them some food and bread, sent them on their way. It says, and he prepared great provision for them. And when they had eaten and drunk, he sent them away, and they went to their master. So the bands of Syria came no more into the land of Israel. They were shook, right? And that is great power right there. All right. And that's the type of power that the men of the Lord are going to have, when the Most High lifts up that standard for us, right? When the enemy shall come in like a flood. Let me grab that. I was just looking at it. I forgot where is it already. All right, Isaiah 59. Just grab that real quick. Isaiah 59 and 19. It says, so shall they fear the name of the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai shall lift up a standard against him. Right. And that standard is ultimately going to be, allowing us, because when the enemy comes in like a flood, they're going to come into us. Right. And that standard is going to be that spiritual power, right, to be able to escape the situation in many different ways. It says to flee, escape, to flee. Elisha just flee and escape by praying to the Lord to blind the people and then leading them wherever you want, and then sending them back to where they came from with food and drink. So the standard is to flee, escape, to take flight, depart, disappear, to fly, right? To put to flight, to cause to disappear, hide. Right. So that standard is going to be lifted for us the same way the standard was lifted for Elisha when the enemies came in like a flood here. All right. And that was a great example. And I'll continue reading this a little bit here. It says, and it came to pass, 2 Kings 6:24, and it came to pass after this that Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, gathered all his hosts and went up and besieged Samaria. And there was a great famine in Samaria, and behold, they besieged it until an ass head was sold for fourscore pieces of silver, and the fourth part of a cab of doves dung for 5 pieces of silver. So it was a famine, right? And it was hard time, right? It says, and as the king of Israel was passing by upon the wall, there cried a woman unto him, saying, Help, my lord, O king. And he said, If the Lord Yahweh Basmi Shai do not help thee, whence shall I help thee? Out of the barn floor or out of the winepress? And the king said unto her, What aileth thee? And she answered, This woman said unto me, Give thy son, that we may eat him today, and we will eat my son tomorrow. So we boiled my son and did eat him. And I said unto her, On the next day, give thy son, that we may eat him. And she had hid her son. So that's how bad the famine was. And that time is coming again now, right? But Yahweh Bashmiah Shai is going to feed his servants. All right, it's Isaiah 65:13. We shall eat and be merry, make merry, just like Elisha. Elisha was eating, Elisha was good, It says, and it came to pass when the king heard the words of the woman that he rent his clothes, and he passed by upon the wall, and the people looked, and behold, he had sackcloth within upon his flesh. Then he said, God do so and more also to me, if the head of Elisha, the son of Shaphat, shall stand on him this day. So he wanted to go after God's man, right? Just like Esau's trying to go after God's man, right? The prophets in these last days, because they know the judgment is coming, and they know the judgment is from Yahweh Bashmi Shai. And right now we are proclaiming that judgment, right? It says, but Elisha sat in his house, and the elders sat with him, and the king sent a man from before him. But ere the messenger came to him, he said to the elders, See ye how this son of a murderer have sent to take away mine head? So Elisha already knew. Look, when the messenger cometh, shut the door and hold him fast at the door. Is not the sound of his master's feet behind him. And while he yet talked with them, behold, the messenger came down unto him, and he said, Behold, this evil is of the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai. What should I wait for the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai any longer? So ultimately, Elisha knew, right? So this is another form of that spiritual power from the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai, right? And so it's like they bear with me. All right, so let me go back over here. Right, so the king was saying, this evil is from the Lord. Why should I wait for the Lord any longer? So he wanted to basically just get rid of Elisha. So it says 2 Kings 7:1. Then Elisha said, Hear ye the word of the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai. Thus saith the Lord, Tomorrow about this time shall a measure of fine flour be sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel in the gate of Samaria. Then a Lord on whose hand the king leaned answered the man of God and said, Behold, if the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai would make windows in heaven, might this thing be? So basically he said, even if the Lord opened windows in heaven, it won't happen. And he said, Behold, thou shalt see with thine eyes, but shalt not eat thereof. It says, and there were 4 lepers, men at the entering in of the gate, and they said one to another, Why sit we here until we die? If we say we will enter into the city, then the famine is in the city. And basically what this is going to come to pass, and that's how we're going to be. The Lord's going to be protecting us that way, right? We might see in different individuals, and they just going through it. We tell them something like, yeah, just go over there, just go up the street, turn left, turn right, you're gonna find a basket of food. And it's up them through faith to go over there and follow through with that and give thanks to Yahweh Bashmi Shai, right? It says, and there were 4 lepers, men at the entering in of the gate, and they said one to another, Why sit we here until we die? If we say we will enter into the city, then the famine is in the city. And if we shall die, and we shall die there. And if we sit still here, we die also. Now therefore come and let us fall unto the host of the Syrians. If they save us alive, we shall live, and if they kill us, we shall but die. It says, and they rose up in the twilight to go unto the camp of the Syrians. And when they were come to the uttermost part of the camp of Syria, behold, there was no man there. For the Lord Yahweh Bashmiel had made the host of the Syrians to hear a noise of chariots and a noise of horses, even the noise of a great host. And they said one to another, Lo, the king of Israel hath hired against us the kings of the Hittites and the kings of the Egyptians to come upon us. So they was hearing noises in the background like something was approaching, and they got up out of there. And that's what the Lord Yahweh Bashmiel Yahweh Shai did for his prophet. Right? He's gonna do the same thing these last days. It says, wherefore they arose and fled in the twilight, and left their tents and their horses and their asses, even the camp as it was, and fled for their life. Make sure this is still good. It says, and when these lepers came to the uttermost part of the camp, they went into one tent and did eat and drink, and carried thence silver and gold and raiment, and went and hid it. And they was out of the camp because they had that leprosy, right? It says, and raiment, and went and hid it, and came again and entered into another tent, and carried thence also, and went and hid it. And they said one to another, we do not well. This day is a day of good tidings, and we hold our peace. So it was like, yo, we ain't doing a good thing right here, bro. We gotta tell the people, if we tarry till the morning light, some mischief will come upon us. Now therefore come, that we may go and tell the king's household. So they came and called unto the court of the city, and they told them, saying, we came to the camp of the Syrians, and behold, there was no man there, neither voice of man, but horses tied and asses tied in the tents as they were. And he called the porters, and they told it to the king's house within. And the king arose in the night and said unto his servants, I will now show you what the Syrians have done to us. They know that we be hungry, therefore are they gone out of the camp to hide themselves in the field, saying, when they come out of the city, we shall catch them alive and get into the city. And one of his servants answered and said, let some take, I pray thee, 5 of the horses that remain, which are left in the city. Behold, they are as all the multitude of Israel that are left in it. Behold, I say, they are even as all the multitude of the Israelites that are consumed. And let us send and see. They took therefore 2 chariot horses, and the king sent after the host of the Syrians, saying, go and see. See, the promise fulfilled. It says, and they went after them unto Jordan, and lo, all the way was full of garments and vessels, which the Syrians had cast away in their haste. And the messenger returned and told the king. And the people went out and spoiled the tents of the Syrians. So a measure of fine flour was sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel, according to the word of the Lord Yahweh Bashmiel Shai. And the king appointed the Lord, on whose hand he had leaned to have the charge of the gate. So this is the God that said the heavens was open. And the people trod upon him in the gate, and he died, as the man of God has said, who spake when the king came down to him. And it came to pass, as the man of God had spoken to the king, saying, 2 measures of barley for a shekel, and a measure of fine flour for a shekel, shall be tomorrow about this time in the gate of Samaria. And that Lord answered the man of God and said, now behold, if the Lord Yahweh Bashmiel Shai should make windows in heaven, might such a thing be? And he said, behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but shalt not eat thereof. And so it fell out unto him, for the people trod upon him in the gate, and he died. So as you can see, this man had a double portion of the spirit. He was able to do miraculous things, and we understand that Yahweh Shai had the spirit, without measure, and he's able to do a whole lot, right? And the scriptures say that we shall do greater things, than that, because he goes to the Father. So, pretty much that's it. Shalom to the whole elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.